Hour 2 Overdrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Live from Royal Montreal, the President's Cup. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan. What a turn of events today. It's 5-0 U.S. after yesterday. Felt like the lights were out. It was a morgue around here leaving. It was an awful, awful mood. And the pendulum has completely swung. The international team have already put 3 points on the board today in spanking the Americans.
Yes.
And there's 2 matches still out there, and the international team is leading in both of them. And they're coming down the stretch.
I've never seen anything like this. It's unreal.
If it's 5-5 in an hour, that will be one. We got to find out what FanDuel would have had those odds at. Like if you looked at on FanDuel last night, the idea of the international team going 5 for 5 today, it must have been paying plus
10,000.
Thousands, yes.
Yeah.
Like there was no way you could put an odd out there that would make sense for anyone to invest in that.
No.
And yet that appears to be a reality, or could very well be a reality within the next hour or so.
Wow.
It's been pretty incredible.
Well, you heard. I mean, sounds like they enjoyed themselves last night.
Well, we
Somebody
don't know
did.
who enjoyed themselves last. I mean, who knows what they did last night? Although I guess the Americans is what
That's
you're
what I'm saying.
With Rex Hoggard,
Rex
yes,
said,
he was saying.
he goes, in the 4 o'clock hour, he goes, 9 o'clock, I'm here, and that tent's still rocking.
They were rocking last night.
But you know what? I don't blame them because it would be crazy not to think this thing's over.
There's no way
Yes, I
today.
know.
Like you got to be cool about it and say, hey, we still got some golf to play. But it would be hard not to say we are going to crush these guys.
Yes.
There's no way you could say realistically today was a trap day for the U.S. because you couldn't see that was going to. You could say, oh, maybe they'll get 1 or 2, not potentially 5.
Yes, I mean, I think that is accurate. I think the Americans might have said, hey, we'll take our foot off the gas, and maybe they get 2.5, and
Right.
whatever. We're still up, and then we'll be ready to rock on Saturday. This is a completely different story. And, like, we're watching Brian Harman slashing golf balls around out there.
That's good because the international team hit one in the water, so
Yes.
they might saw this hole and still be at an advantage.
Which
Unbelievable
would be
turn of events, man.
Pretty incredible. And, like, those are the kind of guys where if you're home, if you're looking at it, your team, you're like, we're up 5-0, and we have Scheffler and Schauffele. Like, I'm going to have a good time tonight because I feel like we're in a really good place. And evidently that is not the case. So more on that later in the hour and throughout the afternoon. Mike Johnson will join us here in a moment. The Leafs are back in action tomorrow in Montreal. Like, what a roadie. Again, if you're coming up from Southern Ontario, come to the golf tomorrow. Now you got action.
Like
and then
real
head to the Bell
action,
Center
not
tomorrow
down
night.
10-0. Real action.
Real action.
Tomorrow.
If it's 5-5 and you show up here at 8 a.m. tomorrow with Leaf tickets at the Bell Center, you are in for a beautiful day.
We want to talk to somebody Monday. If you went to the President's Cup and to the game, what that day was like.
Okay.
See if there's somebody out there. Somebody's got to be ripping that routine.
100%.
From the Toronto angle, there probably is, but guaranteed from the Montreal angle, there are a ton of these.
Oh, yeah. If you're a local, a big Habs fan,
you're going to the game.
Definitely.
That's a big draw tomorrow night.
That'd be cool. And Michel Lacroix, who's the voice of the Bell Center, he was out here yesterday for the opening ceremony, which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
And what I always find, like, American, I'm sure this applies everywhere around the world. I heard our boy Brad Faxon talking about it, how easily he can flip from English to French. Like, I'm a Canadian, and I don't speak French well, if at all. But even I'm, like, kind of in awe of it. But if you just only have spoken one language your whole life, to hear a guy just flip from one to the other, like,
Brilliant.
seamlessly.
Brilliant.
With names, with, like, the proper way of speaking, like, it's just electric the way that guy operates.
Yeah. That's impressive, though. I don't know. Do you know anybody outside of that can do that? Like fluent? I guess
not
Pierre LeBrun.
Pierre LeBrun can. Pierre LeBrun absolutely can. And he's a broadcaster. Like, he could make it sound big.
Right.
But, like, Michel Lacroix makes it sound
everything's perfect.
Professional and perfect.
That's Rod Smith in 2 languages. That's
exactly what it is. Rod Smith in 2 languages.
Yeah.
So that'll be, the scene certainly at the Bell Center tomorrow. But Mike Johnson coming up here in a moment. We'll be curious to see, who the Leafs send tomorrow. Who's going to play it.
Think Matthews plays? I say no.
I would say no. You still have a couple more games left next week. There's no point in forcing him in. Willie's not going to play. Tavares wasn't on the ice today. He's not going to play. I think Joseph Wall gets a road start.
Yeah?
Stollerts didn't get tested much last night, but he comes as advertised. He is a monster in net.
Big man. Like, I like him. He's got a presence, handles the puck well. I don't think you're looking for him to be your one. I think you're looking for him to be one of the guys, and that's what he is. Matt Murray, it's interesting. Matt Murray's getting some sniff in there. Like, I don't know if it's just getting him back playing or, do they want him and the Hilda Beast to play in the AHL?
That's what it sounds like.
Murray to mentor him, really. But it's Woll and it's Stolarz' net. Let's see what, Joseph Woll has. Like, he only played half a game, and it didn't end well.
The last time we saw him, he was pulling a puck out of his
Matt Murray's going to go down to the AHL and ride around on the bus?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like.
Okay.
I mean, good for him. He's made a lot of money.
Exactly. Keep in mind, he's not making $4 to $5 million anymore.
That's what I'm saying.
He's on a starter contract. So that's found money. If he ends up regaining form and can be a depth guy, can be a guy that you could call up.
What is his dollar amount this year?
I think it's $895, $900 or
league
something.
minimum, close to it.
Yeah, like you can get him to the A through waivers, and he's going to be a guy that can be a perfect number 3 or or a 4, depending on Hildeby's progression.
This year's Martin Jones.
Yep.
That's what you're looking for. Here's Mike Johnson, our TSN hockey analyst, joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. What's happening, Johnny?
What's going on, fellas? I'm not going to lie to you. I was disgusted watching the golf yesterday, like almost to the point where I was rattled. I'm like, this stinks.
What about today, Johnny?
Today is awesome. I'm down to my basement, like fist pumping the TV, watching the Canadians go to work, and so what a turnabout. It's been a fun afternoon watching it today.
It is, honestly, yesterday we were in the East Coast Hockey League. That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
And today we're back in the National Hockey League. Like yesterday we were playing in Myrtle Beach or Fort Myers, Florida, and now we're at the Bell Center because the crowds are electric, the weather's beautiful. It's moving in the right direction, and I guess you could say that for the Leafs as well because they got themselves a win last night in the preseason. So, Craig Berube doesn't have to answer questions on that. What did you take out of the game last night?
They were the better team. Well, first off, guys, my recollection, and even calling preseason games last few years, it hasn't felt so lopsided with the rosters. Like, it seems like every game I watch, every game I've called, the home team, stacked.
Yeah.
The road team, empty. And my sense would be I thought last night would have been closer to a blended lineup, maybe, 10, 12 regulars for Montreal. But there was just a handful. And, I thought tomorrow night when Toronto plays Montreal, it would be 10, 12, 14 regulars for each team. But it's not going to be that way. It's going to be a whole bunch of regulars for Montreal and sort of the tweeners for Toronto. And so in that sense, it was a good game. They controlled the play. They had a lot of shots. They created a lot of chances. They didn't give up too much. Goalies weren't too busy. But you always have to hedge that with they were not playing, an NHL caliber team. It was a bit of a tweener team for the Montreal Canadiens. So you have to factor that in when you're evaluating how things look. Obviously, we'll talk about the Nick Robertson shove. But beyond that, I thought he was a guy that we're kind of watching closely to see how he's playing, to see what kind of impression he's making. I thought he was good. I thought he was, on the puck and making plays. Yes, he scored a nice goal when he turned one over, but I thought he did the sort of things he had to do. I thought Easton Cowan was more noticeable. Obviously, when you play with a Marner and a Domi and the London Knight connection, you're going to be better. You're going to have the puck more often, so that shouldn't be surprised. But those two guys were pretty good. It was sort of a solid game. I don't know if anyone tipped the scales like, this guy played himself out of the game, out of the roster. This guy's on the team because of it. But they looked like the better team because they were the better team.
Johnny, I'm going to give you one position. It's a left-handed shot, possibly third-line left winger, and Easton Cowan, Max Pacioretty, and Nick Robertson. You got to take one guy to play there. Who would you take?
Who would I take, or who would Craig Berube take?
No, I want to know who Mike Johnson would take. That's who we have on the line. We got to hear from Mike Johnson.
Okay, well, Coach Johnson would take Max Pacioretty.
Ooh.
Reason being what?
I think a little bit more reliable in that role. You start thinking about who he's going to play with and the stuff they're going to do. You can't have two sort of predominantly offensive lines, and William Nylander's line is going to be one of them. And so if you're Nick Robertson, you're going to play with Tavares, you're going to take tough matchups, defensive zone starts, that kind of stuff. And all of a sudden, that's maybe not his forte. I'm putting Cowan back in the OHL. And Nick Robertson's going to be a swing guy, talk to Bobby McMahon. We'll find a place for him to play. But right this second, I'm taking Max Pacioretty. I think Max has skated well. Like, I think he's looking like I called a couple of his games the last couple of years, and even when he was playing, it almost, it's hard to limp when you skate, right? Like, it's not like running. You can't really limp when you're skating, but sometimes it looked like he was limping. And he looks like he's skating better now, and I think as long as he's skating okay, I think I would go with him.
Johnny, you mentioned we'll get into the Robertson push. What do you make of it? We weighed in on it in the 4 o'clock hour. What did you see? What do you make of it? And Willie, obviously, he seems to be fine because he practiced today.
Yeah, so, like, the idea that there's some sort of, like, ridiculous move or bush league or strange, this happens, Noodles, you see it.
Yes.
It happens every single game. Every single game. Now, what made this one unique is that it doesn't usually happen so close to the blue line. Usually it's like in the offensive zone where you give a guy a shove way back away from the play, not so close to everyone. And it was a situation where you probably didn't even need to give it a shove. But my thought is, obviously, you could say the second he did it, he felt bad. He kept looking over, trying to check on Nylander, hoping that he was going to be okay. But to me, it was born out of a want to do well, a want to be responsible, a want to not get scored on, to do anything he could possibly do to be good defensively, to be reliable, to make an impact. Like, it was all born out of good intentions. Yeah, it went bad. It was unfortunate. It's not the first time I've seen someone tip over when a guy shoves in the back, because if you're not ready for it and you're between strides, it can knock you off stride. But, yeah, I mean, I guess I'm glad Nylander's okay. I don't think it was that strange a move or the idea to do it. You see it all the time. And I guess I'm also impressed the fact that Nick Robertson sort of put it behind him and go and play well, because that would be enough to throw me off. If I would have done that, I would have been rattled the rest of the game. Sort of embarrassed, sort of rattled, sort of worried. And he put all that aside and went out and played a pretty good game after the fact. So I give him full credit for that. But, yeah, I mean, it didn't work out well, but Noodles, it's kind of much ado about nothing to me. It's not a big deal.
Johnny, you mentioned Easton Cowan, and you believed he should head back to junior, and that's fine. Obviously, you don't want to rush the kid. Like, let's say you're in his exit meeting. How would you assess what he has done thus far at camp? Is it like, although it's not a major disappointment, but you still have to talk about his progression, how would you explain it to him what he's done and why he's going back to junior?
I think you would spin it in a positive way. Like, we like everything you've shown. We like the.
Well, he would say you obviously don't like it that much because I'm going to London.
Well, Easton, if you know how the NHL works, there's contracts and guaranteed contracts and roster limits and waivers, and you are a victim of that. Yeah, if you play for San Jose, you'd be in the NHL, but you don't. You're going to get to play for the Leafs, and we're better than those guys. So go back, play in junior, dominate like you did last year, go play in the World Juniors, light it up and dominate there. And then we'll see you again in the NHL next year. What you need to work on, I think, largely sort of physical maturity. He's still a sort of smaller guy, somewhat slight. Don't want to lose your quickness, but I think just general strength and explosiveness, like, work on that stuff off the ice. And I would send him back saying, don't forget who you are, go score points. But remember, when you get to the NHL, you got to be able to play out without the puck as well. So focus on those details, because those details will keep you in the NHL a real long time. So that would be my message to him. He's a bit of a victim of the numbers game, like many players are when they are playing for good teams. And don't be discouraged. Just go light it up one more time, and you'll never see the minors or the CHL after this season. So
just to follow up on that, you can play your way out of the numbers game, though, right? Like, he could have played so good where they said, screw the numbers game, you got a spot on this team. That could have happened, correct?
Yeah, obviously. He could have been miles better than Max Pacioretty, miles better than Nick Robertson. And then Leafs would have said, well, sorry, Max, whatever contract we thought we had worked out, we're going to revisit that. Sorry, Nick, we're going to accommodate that trade or get you on waivers. Absolutely.
Because I would want to know that. I would want to know the next time around, I play so good, I'm on the team no matter what. There's just nothing that's going to stop it. So he's got to know that.
Well, next time around, he can play in the minors. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
right?
20-year-old. Yeah, he can go to the A.
He's got the option, like, you can be up and down and whatever. But, yeah, but I think that would have been the message this time, too. Like, if you play well enough, there's a spot for you. But I don't think he's probably played well enough. I don't know if he's quite good enough to supplant the guys above him in the role that he optimally will play in the NHL.
Well, again, a few moments ago, you were kind of hesitating playing the role of Mike Johnson in terms of how you would answer the Pacioretty.
You didn't like how he
Cowan,
played Mike Johnson?
Robertson. No, I like him playing Mike Johnson, but I want him to play.
Mike Johnson.
Yeah, you got to work on your Mike Johnson.
Oh, you got a doozy coming up. I can tell, Johnny. Go ahead.
I want you to play the role of Craig Berube now. Like, how would you answer that? How do you think Craig Berube would answer that same question then?
I think probably the same way.
Pacioretty.
Although he might. I think it'd be Pacioretty, although, he would give Nick Robertson a little bit more consideration. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think. And I think some of it, Hayes, is like, how do they envision their line utilization? Right? Because Nick Robertson is a quasi one-dimensional player. Like, he's really good at it, and he's good at the dimension you want to be good at. The other stuff can be taught and figured out. But, if you're thinking that Nyes and Domi, maybe McMahon, and McMahon is a wild card too, but if he's going to be the third-line guy playing with Tavares, if that's where Nick Robertson was going to play, how are you going to use that line? Like, I think Craig Berube is going to use that line in sort of responsible situations. Use Tavares' proficiency in the face-off circle to his advantage, use diligence and checking to his advantage, and not just light him up offensively, but ask him to check occasionally, other team's second lines, whatever it might be. And if that's the case, if I'm Craig Berube, as I am right now, I still think I trust the veteran over the kid in that role.
With Mike Johnson, our TSN hockey analyst, so the top 50 list has officially been revealed with TSN. Not a surprise. Connor McDavid at number 1 for 8 straight years. How many more years do you think he holds?
Man.
8 straight, and it's totally justified. How many more years do you think he holds on to that title?
4.
4 more.
4 more.
Okay.
Maybe get through 31. That's some serious miles. That'll be 13 years in the NHL at some point, and he'll still be near the top. But is it out of the question that he just drops a smidge where Jack Hughes, has a great run, or is it Connor Bedard at that point is on a better Chicago team and is a better player himself, where he's leading the league in goals and close to leading the league in points? Like 4 more years, and then at some point, the way he plays, age maybe will slow him down just a hair. He'll still be excellent, but maybe not the best in the world. I don't know. It's hard to kind of see right now because he's just so damn good. But, yeah, maybe 4 more years would be.
Yeah, and that'd be one hell of a run. And in reality, the guys who are, taking up the rest of the top 10 right now, none of them are going to pass him 5 years from now. Like, if you don't pass him now, and I'm not anticipating they will, Matthews isn't going to do it in 4 years.
Dude, it's some kid playing bantam right now.
I guess that's what I'm getting to. Like, it feels like a foregone conclusion.
McKenna. What's his name?
Yes, McKenna. Yes, McKenna's coming. It feels like a foregone conclusion that Bedard is that guy. Everyone seems to think it's just automatic, but I'm not sure that's even fair to him. Like, I'm not sure it's fair to Bedard to just hand him that mantle.
Yeah.
And yes,
he would have to have he would have to have 2 or 3 dynamite years where you're like, wow. You know what I mean?
Yes, and I think it's going to be goal scoring that puts him in that spot.
Yes.
Right. It's not going to be pace. It's not going to be 100 assists.
Because McDavid just didn't have good early years. You were like, that is the best player in the world by a lot.
Immediately.
Yeah.
And I think it's more likely what Bedard does is not even necessarily chase McDavid down. He catches Matthews as the best goal scorer in the game.
I think the only thing, too, like, Johnny, you were like 4 years. I think it could be longer. The only thing that could take McDavid off the map for me is an injury. Like, if he has, like, an abdominal – like, if you have an injury where structurally he doesn't skate the same, or structurally – I know the legs start to drop off. He's such a freak, his stride, but skating is his game. If he has some form of, like, structural injury where he needs surgery on it and it never gets back to where it is, that's where I think you'll start to see somebody catch up.
Yeah.
And I agree. It's 4 years or more for me, just based on –
crazy when you think about that. Like 12, 13 years in a row as the undisputed best player.
It's just like, there's no arguing it. He's that good.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, think about what happened last year. He didn't win the scoring race. He only had what do you have, 37 goals or something, 33 goals, whatever
100 apples.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100 apples. But so did Kucherov. And Kucherov had 15 more goals. You know what I mean? Like, and it was still unanimous. And where he didn't win the scoring race by a mile, now he did in the playoffs, and I think that's a big part of it too. But yeah, you're right. Like, everyone in that top 10 is sort of in the same demographic as McDavid. Like, there's no 21-year-old waiting to pounce.
Right.
They're all 25, 26, 27, 29, and that are the best players in the league right now. And he's the best of the best. They're all going to age out together. And the one thing about Connor, injuries aside, when you see him, he has the kind of build that should age gracefully. Like, he's thin. He doesn't carry a ton of weight. So when you get into your 30s and, things start to slow down, and if you're a heavy player, it gets a bit harder to move quite as quick. He's not built like that. Like, he's built like he's going to be wiry and quick his whole career.
Us thin guys age well, Johnny. Us thin
Listen,
guys age well.
Youth medium, 3/4 zip.
Yep.
Snuggy bear, just fit like a glove.
Like
I
a
loved
glove. I saw it up
it.
close and personal.
Spectacular.
I had a bit of a conference call here behind the set with a dietitian earlier. I was holding court. Hazy was loving it.
It was. You would not believe what I
It was
witnessed.
ridiculous.
I-
It was
Was that
ridiculous.
before or after
It
you
was.
had ketchup on your face?
That was
That was
long after. That
day
was a
one.
Tuesday thing with
Dude,
Jam.
this is why these guys are such bozos, Johnny. I have a coffee mug that I've had with me every day for the last 5 years. And there was coffee on top of the mug, and a little bit got on my nose. And simultaneously, these two bozos looked at me and started laughing and said, "You got ketchup on your face."
Well, it
Like
was
they
so-
couldn't do the show anymore. It's like it was I'm like, it was coffee, guys. Could you guys not move on and get to commercial break and just say you've got a little bit of coffee there? They
That would have
turned
been
it
the
in-
professional
That
play,
was,
admittedly, but
we're not
It was.
professionals.
We're
and
not
that
in
was,
that spot.
That was 5 minutes into the show up here on Tuesday, wasn't it?
yeah, we had just started.
We just started, but he didn't start the show with that on his nose. That's the problem.
Right.
You must have taken a sip. I didn't realize it, and then all of a sudden you turn to me and you've got this thing on your
That's
nose. I'm like,
what-
I got to point that out.
By the
was
way, the
off-putting.
lady that was the dietitian, she asked me, "What did you do?" And I said, "I fasted. I'm fasting." And she said, "Brilliant play."
No,
I don't know.
I don't
There
think she
was
did.
That's what she said.
You started talking about not eating breakfast, and she was rolling her
drinking
eyes,
water.
but trying to be nice to you. Like, this guy, Johnny, was going on a full, like, Tony Robbins of food.
This was a beer leaguer telling Austin Matthews he
Yeah.
has a good wrist shot.
You should roll your wrist over a little more. That's literally what it was. Matthews walking through Chesswood on a Tuesday night, and the guy goes, "Dude, you got to snap your wrist a little bit
this
more."
is what I do.
That was you.
It was the Fax New coffee.
Yes.
It got me in a good mood, and I just got on a roll. This coffee is delish.
It is an electric coffee. Doogie has been crushing it all week with the coffee orders. That is a fact. All right, Johnny. Well, enjoy your weekend, pal. We'll do it early next week.
Now, fellas, are we staying there for the conclusion of this tournament,
No,
or are we all
are
going home after
sparks
tonight?
off the wheels at 7 p.m. We're
Dude,
all
have
out of here.
you seen the clip on TikTok of the guy with the motorcycle that's doing a wheelie on the highway with the firecrackers coming out of it? That will be me at 7:01.
Weaving in and out of
Yes,
cars.
a wheelie
I thought
on a
you guys might
bike
stick around.
with firecrackers on the 401 will
No,
be me.
Toronto's calling
For
her name.
tomorrow night, Toronto-Montreal game. I'm coming into town. I was thinking, you
Right.
guys will still be there.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe
No.
that was a miss by us. You're right about that. It would be electric to be here all weekend, but we've been here for 4 days, and Toronto's
Like
calling her
Vegas.
name.
Had a good run.
You
It's
gotta get
time
out
to
of
go
there.
home.
It's been a fun ride, but it's time to be wheels up at 7 p.m. sharp. So that's the plan for the boys.
If you see Brad Faxon, though, give him our best. He's our guy.
We love Fax. There's no one better. You'll see him if you're hanging around the Bell Center.
Yeah.
You'll see Fax.
Yes,
He'll be kicking around. We love him. All right, Johnny. Safe travels.
All right, boys. Have a good weekend.
Mike Johnson joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Build your next dream Toyota at Maple Toyota, and check out Maple Toyota's pre-owned inventory arriving daily. It's time to Toyota. Visit mapletoyota.com. Yeah, it'll be a fun one tomorrow here at the President's Cup. We're again now these couple matches are coming down to the wire here because
yeah,
Dude,
Well,
we got to
Christian
get a golf. We got to get Bedazenhunt.
Bedazenhunt is slashing the golf ball around.
Yeah, he just put one in the water, and then he launched one over the green.
There's no way he had the right yardage. He hit that 40 yards long.
Dude, that's adrenaline and struggling. Like, he just hit one on. Like, can you imagine how nervous that guy was? He just dunked one on the hole before,
Yeah.
and now he's got one in the butter spot in the middle of the fairway, and he's like, I can't screw this up.
He is jamming Jason Day up.
Oh,
You know
my
what sucks
God.
though is that as you just gotta watch it instead of you should be able to have like one sub during
During the round,
during
you're
the
out
round, the
after
tap.
you slash a shot. Can you
Wouldn't
imagine
that
how
be-
that'd be incredible theater?
That's what I'm saying. We're in the entertainment business.
Yes.
You imagine he
Look at
lays one-
Jason Day. He's got to hit a flop shot that he actually, I think, has
Did
done
well
really
on.
well with.
Very
brilliant.
well, Jay Day.
Brilliant.
Very well, Jay
Yeah.
Day. Out
All
of
right.
baby.
Oh, look at him now. You know what? They're going to make him putt that Bezuidenhout. That's that. You talk about shook. Imagine after slashing
Dude,
two
he
shots.
is going to grab Bezuidenhout
Oh,
after
they
the
gave
round.
him to him. He's so lucky.
He is going to grab Bezuidenhout after the round and said, "You tried to jam me up.
You did everything you
bastard."
could to make us lose.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
Everything you could.
Shouldn't you be able to pull a guy? Wouldn't that
I think it'd be
the-
hilarious
the
to see
tap?
that. You're out. Tommy Kim's coming in.
Yeah, like Jimmy Furyk out of the dugout, and he's just like,
Thanks for coming out.
and he
See
just
you
signals
later.
the lefty.
Keegan Bradley's coming in.
Top step Tony.
Top
Standing-
step, Tony. All right, Scotty Vail is here. Scotty is, he hasn't been on the bag today because Keegan hasn't been playing. So Scott Vail, who is, of course, the caddy for Keegan Bradley, will join us around the table. We're live at Royal Montreal. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, Luke Wilson, Al's brother, coming up in a half an hour. I'll have some commentary for Al's brother when he joins me, and us, for that matter. We're live at Royal Montreal, and what a turn of events today. Yesterday was all USA. They won 5-0, and I think most people showed up today, ourselves including thinking, you just got to make this respectable. Like, if you're the
Yeah.
international team, get on the board, get a point, and then maybe you can go into the weekend and hope for a miracle. But it has been the complete opposite of that.
We were just looking for a little bit of noise.
Yes,
Yeah.
give us some noise, exactly. And
Atmosphere, yeah.
the international team already has 4 points in the bank. It's 5-4. The last match is on 18, and the international team is 1 up on Scheffler and Henley. It could be 5-5 in like 20 minutes. And here's our boy Scotty Vail, good Canadian, but
Yeah.
representing the American team, of course, here with Keegan. We saw you cruising around. We were on 10T. We're like, we got to see Scotty come up. You guys were bombing around yesterday. You were feeling good, man. Feeling good, looking good too, Scotty.
It was a good match yesterday. It was. I was wondering how it was going to be to caddy for Keegan. I've
Yeah.
seen what we've all seen, and enjoyed, his passion and his enthusiasm for these kind of events. So it was nice to be on the side caddying for him.
Absolutely.
In an event like this, Scotty, are you just like, you let him do his thing? Because there's a lot more emotion involved. And I'm sure in a tour event you might be like, let's calm down here. But do you just say, let it fly and let it rip?
I let him go. He's in great control of his emotions. Yesterday when he missed a short putt on 12, he missed probably a 6-footer for birdie to have the hole. And he was dog-cussing himself walking off the green pretty good and pumping himself up. And I just let him do his thing. And by the time he gets to the next tee, he's fine. And then he birdied that hole, and he was walking off the green, and he was like, I need to just take a couple
Chill.
deep breaths.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm, he's
Hazy needs to do that once in a while, too.
I do.
Yeah, you're right.
I do, man. Well, because I was talking about it when we came on the air yesterday. He hit that putt on 1, and he's fist pumping like that's Game 7 Cup final. And I'm like, that's the first hole of the President's Cup. And
That's
then
awesome,
It
though.
is awesome. And then you see him hit that putt on 18, which is a really tough putt. And he's chest bumping. He's going crazy. It was just awesome to see him yesterday.
I think in his position, him being the captain of the Ryder Cup next year, I think he wants to set a tone for his team and show these young guys that he's still capable of playing. And I think that's, that has a lot to do with his emotions as well. So, he wants to show these guys. Yeah.
Did
and
you
he's done
help
a good
him read
job.
that putt on 18? Was that all you?
I was standing as far away from that putt as possible. I knew there was about 3 foot of break on that putt. It was funny. We were actually from the back of the green in the practice round the other day, and there was the 4 players, the 4 caddies. We had a putt to the front pin. All 8 of us hit the putt off the green because it was so quick. And we get up there, and Wyndham and Wyndham's caddy, John Ellis, who's a good friend of mine, when Keegan's over the putt, we're all like side by side, and we were like, he remembers what we did the other day with his putt, right? And I'm like, he better. All 8 of us have knocked it off the green. So, he did a great job, obviously, of, containing his emotions and then executing
Those greens look dynamite, Scotty. You've seen every green out there. We walked on the 18th. They look pretty dynamite.
I think that's the defense of this course. It's not the longest golf course. The slope on these greens is quite significant. It's, if you're in the wrong spot, you miss it in the wrong spot, it can be tricky. And there's a lot of up and over putts. These guys out on tour, they don't have a lot of up and over putts, on 17 especially, when we hit it pin high right and we had an up and over, and it's tough for these guys to adjust to up and over putts and chip shots like that. So that's sneaky difficult.
Yeah, I wonder why we don't see that on tour more.
Yeah, the green complexes here are a little more tricky than the other green complexes that we normally play. So,
like even in Hamilton, I was talking to Zach Blair, who's in like that world of building golf courses and stuff, and I asked him what sticks out here. He's like, the undulation on the greens. It's different than what you see for whatever reason on tour.
Yeah, it is. And like I said, it's the defense of the golf course because there's a lot of short shots, and the roughs. You can advance it out of the rough for the most part and get it on the green. So there's not too many holes that are long, and then you factor in some wind, and that could make them difficult. But the greens being sloped is definitely the hardest part of the golf course.
Were you surprised by the lack of emotion from the crowd yesterday? I mean, it's night and day compared to yesterday and today.
Yeah, it was a bit disappointing. I was surprised that. I don't know if it was the weather that was keeping people away, and they were a little bit gun shy about coming over and being involved. But they were certainly out there today. I was out walking quite a few holes, and stayed on the first tee and watched all the guys go through, and they were jumping on the first hole. It was nice to see. That's what you want.
Yeah.
I know as well as you guys know that Canadians are passionate fans. And, especially in a sports town like Montreal. So it's nice to see. That's what you want, and that's what we want too. We want we don't mind when guys are booing like
Absolutely.
that. Just throw some fuel on the fire.
Yeah, I think it was an adjustment for the Canadian fans. Like if an American or the opposition misses a putt and you win the hole, it's okay to say, that's good for us. You know what I mean? I think they forgot that day one where it's like, we're nice people. Everyone in Canada's nice. We just want to keep it cool here.
They were flooring it today. Scott Vail with us, caddy for Keegan Bradley. Do you think Montrealers know you're a Leaf fan too? Because if they know that, man, they may lean into you tomorrow.
I haven't gotten any chats about that. It was funny. I actually went out for.
Don't tell anyone here, by the way. They'll hate your guts, man. I checked in with a big Leaf bag and dessert. They're just
they're sickened by that.
Dude, they're sickened.
Yeah.
They're sickened by
Sickened by it.
We went out the other night. Joe LaCave is friends with Martin St. Louis, so. He's like, you want to go out for a couple of beers with Martin? I'm like, yeah, why not? I'll tell him I'm a Leaf fan. So we went out. So we had the president, the GM, and the coach of the Canadians all having a drink. Where are you from? Toronto. Hey, guys. Sorry, bud. I'm a Leafs fan. Good luck. Good luck this week or this year.
As you should. Well, we'll get you out of here, Scotty, with not a prediction on the weekend. We know where you're at, and obviously with Keegan and the Americans. But, obviously, I'm sure you didn't see this coming. I don't think anybody did. But now, if it's 5-5 going into the weekend, how does this change your mentality, Keegan's mentality, all the players, the caddies on both sides?
Yeah, I don't know what it's going to do. It's going to be interesting to get into the team room and see what kind of vibe we got in there, because we got shellacked today. We got a good old-fashioned whooping. So it'll be interesting to see. I know Keegan's excited to go out there tomorrow and do some damage. So we'll see how it goes. But, we're all square. We've got plenty of golf to go. And some guys didn't play their best today. So, we'll go out and see what happens.
That's got to be a thing for Furyk, to not only pick talent, but he's got to get the right mix of emotion plus who's playing good to get out there. Because just to see, everybody thought today Tom Kim would have had him out first because of the emotion. But at the end of the day, they didn't win anything yesterday. So they it's a crapshoot who goes out there.
Yeah, I know. I would assume they probably had their analytics department figuring out the foursomes, because generally foursomes are our strength, the American team's strength. And
how does the analytics go into that, Scotty?
I try to stay out of that stuff. I've got I want to know where to hit the ball and where not to hit the ball, and what the best chances are of making a par or getting it up and down for birdie on a par 5 or something. Sometimes that's too much. They do the pairings and they figure it out. And I don't know what kind of analytics they write for it, but they definitely, I think both teams are pretty strict with their analytical teams that they use.
I guess. We've heard that term a lot this week, more than ever in golf. It's just analytics. Where are we at? Where are we going from here? We'll let you get over to the team room here, and I'm sure it'll be a different vibe. We heard it was pretty fun last night.
We got a long day tomorrow too. We got it's going to be a 4 a.m. wake up. I think we're leaving 4:30 to get out here. So tomorrow's going to be a long day.
It's a quick drive though, Scotty. Not a big deal.
I love the bridge that comes in. That's half shut down onto the island. That's
the bridge is driving everyone crazy.
Yeah, people are so mad at it.
People hate that bridge with such a passion.
I might float an email to somebody on that bridge if I can find one.
We're fortunate. We've got a police shuttle, so we got the motorcycle ahead of us, or we'd be.
That's helpful.
We'd be right in there with it. I've heard some rumblings, online and social media. It's not been pretty.
It's been a grind. It's been a grind. All right, Scotty, great seeing you, buddy. Thank you for doing
Scotty.
this.
Thanks, guys.
There he is, Scott Vail, of course, caddy for Keegan Bradley. Keegan will be back out there tomorrow. We're tracking the final match. They're on 18, Scheffler and Henley up against Siwoo Kim and Ben On. So this could be historic. It could be 5 straight points for the Americans yesterday, 5 today for the international team. We'll come back with a full recap on that. Overdrive continues live from Royal Montreal, TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. So it's official. We're done here, day 2 at the President's Cup, and the Americans, they won 5 straight yesterday, 5-0. They went to bed last night thinking this is going to be a breeze. The international team showed up today, and they won 5-0. It is 5-5 going into the weekend at the President's Cup. That is incredible. I didn't see it coming. Nobody saw it coming.
No.
If you put a G on that, like,
oh, that's paying a fortune. A fortune for both. Like, I didn't think the Americans were going to win 5-0 yesterday either.
you would say they're going to get some. The internationals are going
Yes.
to get some.
Yes, but again, if you hadn't watched a second and had no updates, and I told you it's 5-5, you'd be like, all right, well,
You could see
clearly
that.
that's good,
Yeah,
and they're
you could
both
make
good.
A case, yeah.
And you would have thought 3-2, then 3-2 or something like that. 5-0, 5-0 is just remarkable. Mike Weir's up on the Golf Channel. Look at how happy he looks. He is
That
so
guy
happy.
right there, compared to the guy we saw on the 10th tee trying to rile that crowd up, that is a different man right there.
Completely different man.
He is so fired up right now because that's all you could, and more. He was
Yes.
like, I need to see some kind of response here. And
he
they
got
did
it.
it.
He
And
got
they
it.
did it.
And conversely, Jim Furyk was
got it.
the underpant cam yesterday was
I'd
spotless.
pay a fortune to have a peek.
Right now this
fortune.
year?
Well, because now the flip side, the pressure's on the Americans. They win
Big
every
time.
single year.
Yeah.
Jim Furyk's been the captain in the past, Ryder Cup, all that, Mr. America. And now his team, he thought, I'm breezing to a President's Cup. It's 5-5 and things are changing. Mail It In Fridays brought to you by Boston Pizza, the best place for any family meal. Plus, for the month of September, kids eat free with minimum purchase when you dine in. So grab the kids and hustle into your local BP tonight. All right, I referenced this last night if you were watching. I will say what in Montreal, it was on RDS. I'm watching the football game in French last night.
I was so frustrated with that. I'm like, is it not in English around here?
Well, I mean, that's the way it works with
I
different
know.
TSN channels and stuff, and that's how much of a football freak we are. I'm watching that game cursing myself, Al's brother, and the game is in French. But on Amazon in the States, TSN up here, the English side of things, Al Michaels was so bent out of shape with the amount of flags being thrown, and I thank him so much because it is a serious issue in football right now in the NFL. There are way too many flags being thrown. These refs cannot find a balance. Every single play, you're waiting for that icon to show up and flash on the screen. You're waiting for it. Some guy throws a 50-yard touchdown. You're like, that's probably coming back, holding or offside.
That's
or
what I'm
something.
curious about the French. It's Al Michaels. He doesn't speak French. What was in French? Was
No,
there-
it was an RDS
Yeah.
crew, like
they were
two
calling it off
French
the tube.
broadcasters.
They were calling it off the
Oh.
tube.
and they were dynamite.
Yeah, they were great.
Absolutely dynamite.
I think that's a good learning tool because if it's a great throw, you just hear the line. You're like, that's throw.
It was a brilliant broadcast. I just had no idea what was going on.
So you were not getting Al Michaels.
I was not getting Al Michaels. So
No.
I was so happy when I saw this clip earlier today because Al Michaels is Gary Thorne. Remember our
Yeah, he
boy
just
Gary
doesn't
Thorne?
care.
I've had enough. Al Michaels has been calling football for so long. He may be the GOAT when it comes to sports broadcasting. He's
Right.
phenomenal. He doesn't eat vegetables. He's into his 80s. And he doesn't care what Roger Goodell or anyone else thinks. Here's basically a snippet, multiple snippets of Al Michaels disgusted with the amount of flags being thrown last night.
Yeah.
We got another flag. It's like June 14th here. Otherwise known as Flag Day, as you know. Thibodeau came across the line. You got a free play. You got another flag. You have 2 more flags in the backfield. No more laundry left. Tolbert made the catch, 29-yard line. And any number of calls coming your way. You're kidding.
False start. Offense number 30. 5-yard penalty. 4th down.
It's the 8th penalty now, right?
No, it's the 147th.
He hates it.
He was
hates
going
it.
on
So
and
disgusted.
on and on, disgusted with the amount of flags, and I thank him for his service.
Yeah.
It's too much. Now, listen, you can look at the players, too, and the coaches. They're sloppy. Clearly, they're sloppy because there are penalties taking place.
Well,
Illegal
isn't
formation.
there some alignment formation thing
illegal
that
formation,
they've just been hammering? It's too much, man.
They have been, but there has to be a balance. Like, because again, you can call a penalty on basically every play, and you have to have a read for the playbook and the vibe and the just the sequence of plays where you allow there to be some flow in the game.
Well, someone's driving the crackdown. It's coming from somewhere, probably Goodell. Somebody's telling Goodell to make sure you hammer down this because that's what happens.
It's a horrible decision.
We played in the league where it was like the hooking and holding, and it was like 2004 or 5 after the lockout. It was like you touch a guy, you're going to the penalty box.
Yeah.
But it took like preseason adjustment, and then everybody figured it out.
Right.
That's it.
Well, they better figure it out here sooner than later. I don't know if they ever will.
Well, I mean, ultimately, again, the players have to take some responsibility. If you're getting beat, if you're offside, if you're in an illegal formation, if it's a blatant hold or whatever, then it's not to suggest there won't be penalties. Of course, there's going to be penalties. I understand that there has to be, but it cannot be like last night where it's like every play.
Every play was.
At some point, that's on the ref to say, I have to let something go, and we got to breathe here. Like I can't be throwing a flag on every single play. Al Michaels' head is going to explode, and he's
so
not
mad.
alone. Because I talk to like buddies of mine, diehard football fans that are like, "It's killing me. It's a flag epidemic in the NFL right now.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
There's got to be. You got to have a feel for the game, and listen. The fear for refs in every league, including in the NHL, all of them, is that they're not going to call something, and then something big is going to happen, and you're going to take heat because you should have blown it down.
Yeah.
And that is the issue that I'm sure a lot of these refs have, but I'm sorry, you got to find some sort of balance here.
It's about having a feel for the game, but people hate hearing that because there is a penalty in every shift, every play, you name it, but it's having a feel for the game where the refs can control it to a point where that's not going to cost them a point against or a play. It's hard. You got a lot of refs on the field in football, especially, and you got guys that are always trying to push the envelope, especially on the line. Those guys get greasy.
That's where you can find penalties all the time.
The
line of scrimmage, they're mauling each other every single play.
Yes.
And it's a fight for every inch.
Dude, there's a hold on every play.
Every
man.
play. And there's a league, there's stuff, face mask stuff. Like there's something going on all the time.
Yeah.
You can't allow it to overtake the game.
I know you're pissed that you didn't cover. But like that field goal at the end, like I felt for you and Al's brother.
That's what was sickening is if you're going to lose, if you're not going to cover, really don't cover.
Right.
Don't send him because they could have tried to kill more of the clock. They could have punted.
Right.
For field position. McCarthy's like, this guy's perfect, and Aubrey has been perfect.
Right.
All year, and right off his foot, it was wide right.
Yeah.
Like it was right when it was in the air, it was like sickening that you could tell they weren't because that goes through the uprights. We cover the number, and everything's all good today.
And Al's brother's Peacock.
Al's brother is Mike Weir back in Toronto, loving life, and now it's the complete opposite because we were really humming there for a while.
Yeah.
And now
you're
going
to gas him, aren't you?
I think there should be
I'm not going to gas him, but I yesterday was eye-opening. The fact that he's going around my back with Luke and trying to, I'm telling you, I actually wanted to go with the Bills.
He took a piece of you yesterday. That's what he did.
He did. And here I am. I've been so supportive of Al's brother. And that hurt. That was hurtful yesterday, the way that he was operating. And he's going to have to answer for that. And, again, I was pushing him towards the Giants.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that publicly, not via text.
I actually don't believe you because I know after what happened multiple weeks ago, you have the final say. And you would have said, I'm not doing that,
I
man.
do. But
I've heard you for years say, divisional game, that's too many points. You don't do that.
Exactly, and that's why it was stupid for me not to abide by my own rules.
Yes, you went against your own beliefs.
I went against my own beliefs today, and last night, and it cost me. But listen, you got to let him breathe, man. I got to let Al's brother have his tremendous information. Got to let him have his moment. And we got 3 more games this weekend, including some big ones like Green Bay and Minnesota. That's a big game. You got Kansas City against the Chargers in L.A. We don't know what's going to happen with the injury report on the Chargers side of things, but that's Harbaugh's first crack at Andy Reid and the Chiefs. Like that, he's going to have that team jacked up.
That's the prototypical statement. They all say there's no statement game, but that is one.
Definitely.
Are you just going to get dummied again?
Right. That's it. You started well. You won your first couple of games. You lost last week at Pittsburgh. You're 2-1. This is who you know you're chasing. You're chasing the 3-0 Chiefs. They've won back-to-back Super Bowls. They've owned your division for a long time. The reason Harbaugh was hired was for this game on Sunday and for this battle between the Chargers and the Chiefs and trying to put up a fight in that division. So I think Herbert will play, but there's a lot of other injury issues. And it's a big game, and it's a big gut instinct type pick. And that's going to be our game, of course. Al's brother and I are going to be on the clock with that game, and the Chiefs are a 7-point favorite on the road in L.A. So
there you go. On the road, too many points. You know that.
It's the same situation.
It is.
Divisional game on the road, too many points.
And I know what you're going to do. You're going to take the Chiefs.
Al's brother wants the Chiefs. I think he wants the Chiefs. So we're going to run into this exact scenario again in about 20 minutes when Al's brother comes storming in. Luke will join us first on the officiating last night, on the Cowboys getting a win. And Dak looked pretty good. Like, to his credit, man, he was slinging the ball around. He protected the ball, wasn't turning things over, threw a couple of nice TDs, including that one bomb to CeeDee Lamb, which, again, was in French for me, but it was brilliant.
Yeah, looked good.
It's a great call last night. So Luke's coming up to set the scene on Week 4. Look back on that last night. Graham Dillette will join us around the table on what has been a historic day at Royal Montreal. The international team has tied things up. They were down 5-0 when they put pegs in the ground this afternoon. It is 5-5. 5-5.
Incredible turnaround.
At almost 6 p.m. Eastern time. I never saw that one coming.
No.
But that is a new reality here at the President's Cup. What a weekend we're about to have. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.